Good evening. Welcome to our Wednesday evening Sangha. Tonight, allow me to offer a few words about what Zen is not. There are three ways in which we can be mistaken about what Zen practice is all about. For one, Zen is not a self-improvement technique. Secondly, it's not a practice towards achieving something like spiritual values or spiritual benefits or even enlightenment. It's not about achieving any of those things. And thirdly, related to the second one, it's not a means towards attaining enlightenment. Some of you may be surprised. What? It's not something that enables us to attain enlightenment? Well, please don't get me wrong. There is a point that I would like to emphasize here in saying what Zen is not in a way that is often misconstrued. First, we may be drawn to practice Zen because we feel, I have a lot of defects and faults. I need to improve my personality so I can may have a better presentation for others and so on. So we turn to a practice like Zen, which takes on discipline and self-containment and so on. But without going into the details, let me just mention straightforwardly that Zen is not so much an improvement technique, but a path of self-diminishment. So it is the opposite of self-improvement. It is precisely a way of setting that self aside so that it doesn't get in the way. Get in the way of what? Get in the way of the most natural way we are born to live life, with all of the things that nature has given us. And it is this little ego, this I, me, mine, that gets in the way, saying, I want to be better, I want to be to be better than all of those others and so on. And so I want to improve myself. And that's already precisely a misleading direction. It's a path of self-diminishment, to let that ego be contained and not suppressed, but somehow be set aside so that it doesn't get in the way. Secondly, it's not a means, or it's not a practice towards achieving something like spiritual benefits. Some of us come to the practice and ask about how to do it. And when I ask, why do you come to Zen? And a very common answer would be, I want to attain some spiritual benefits in my life. And fine, we don't reject that. But I would like to just shift that angle a little bit so that we understand that it's not about gaining spiritual benefits, but it is precisely a way of aligning ourselves so that those spiritual benefits may come forth in a most natural way. It's not about achieving them, but it's about precisely similar to the first one, setting aside this little egoic self that wants to achieve, that wants to prove itself better than others, that wants to improve itself, and allowing the most natural way we are born into the world to be much more appreciated and much more welcomed. And so, in short, in Buddhist terms, it is allowing our true nature to be more prominent in our lives, rather than our little self that is always in competition with others, or is seen in separation or distinction from others. And thirdly, again, the most common misunderstanding about Zen is that it is a means towards attaining enlightenment. You may have read a lot of books about Zen, and You get this thing about enlightenment, or this Japanese word kensho. I want that. So now tell me how I can get it. And so we go into Zen thinking that this is a means towards getting it. But then, as the Zen master Nansen or Nanchuan told Zhao Ju or Joshu when he was still a young, zealous monk seeking enlightenment, what is the way? And Nanchuan's answer is, ordinary mind is the way. And so then, how shall I turn myself toward it then? So he is given an ideal, ordinary mind. But ordinary mind is precisely something that is already in us, but which is blocked by this little egoic self from coming to fore and from being more appreciated in our life. And so Zhao Chu or Joshu then asks, how shall I turn myself to it? And then this is what the master says. If you turn yourself toward it, you go against it. And that really is a paradox. If we come to Zen seeking that prized goal of enlightenment, all the more we are thinking that it's out there for me to achieve. And when I achieve it, then I'll really be accomplished. And then what do we really accomplish? An ego trip. And it is precisely the opposite of an ego trip that Zen invites us to, namely, not only a diminishment, but a self-emptying of that ego. And so how does that happen? So to just overturn those three ways of misunderstanding Zen, Zen is simply a way of emptying ourselves and allowing things to be seen as they are. In the Buddhist terminology, it is allowing our true nature, our Buddha nature, our awakened nature to come to the fore in our lives without the interference of the little egoic self. In Christian language, we understand that we are all made in the image of God. We are all reflecting of that divine image that is unconditional love that shines through the whole universe. And we are made in that image. And so we are receiving that love always. So we are called to live empowered by and motivated by love, that love to love back. That's in Christian terms, a way of expressing what Zen can be for us. But again, just taking the Buddhist term, it is allowing our true nature to come to the fore, no longer blocked by this egoic self that always tries to bring it to itself and achieve something and think that now I've gotten something. So quite the opposite. When we have truly emptied ourselves, then it is no longer I that live, but the Buddha nature in me. And again, that is resonating with a very familiar Christian passage for those raised in the Christian tradition. It is no longer I that live, but Christ in me. And again, for those of you who may not be appreciative, or those who have issues with the Christian tradition based on past experience, don't take that in a one-sided way. The Christ that we mean there is precisely just a word, a pointer to that which is the basis and principle of all that we are. Richard Rohr wrote a book entitled The Universal Christ. And the subtitle he gives to that is A Name for Everything Else, or something to that effect. I don't remember exactly the subtitle, but another name for everything else. So the true nature of everything else is that logos, that principle that makes everything what it is. And that's what we are seeking to bring to the fore in this practice, so that it's no longer the egoic self that reigns in our lives, but that egoic self has been handed over to that big and boundless reality that is our true self, wherein we are intimately interconnected with all beings and all things, and we feel a sense of belonging, a sense of being at home. So if you ask me to summarize all of this, we can say that Zen is coming home to the most intimate reality that we already are, but which has been clogged by a lot of our own misconceptions about ourselves and about our world as separate. And breaking through those misconceptions, we arrive home. So welcome home.